we find ourselves in a logjam. And that's why the church proposed, what we need is we need an arrangement where we are going to provide a temporary transitional mechanism, whichever name we call. Others have called it the National Transitional Authority, whatever structures that people may come up with. What we need is we need a moment, a sabbatical period, where the nation is going to reboot and reset itself. And it will be characterized by a number of things. First, the nation must be able to deal with the hurts of the past which have not been resolved, that go back to more than 40 years, but that have been characterized by Gukura Hundi and the other most recent issues. We need to find a way of resolving those. Secondly, we need to implement the Constitution. Number three, we need to establish a new social contract that is based on an inclusive economy and get rid of this corruption and the cartel economy that is dominating the economy now. Number four, we must establish a new international re-engagement mechanism framework in which all citizens are participating. Number five, we need to establish an inclusive humanitarian intervention mechanism so that we feed our people who are currently hungry, recover the health and education systems and all the social services. We believe that this moment of transition will allow for the nation to restore itself, and therefore, whenever there is an opportunity for democratic competition, it will be fair, it will be transparent, and it will be accountable. This is the proposition that the church has made, and the church has said it is not able to achieve this only as a church, and therefore has invited civil society, and that's why now we have the establishment of the National Convention, which has put together the platform that brings together civil society, business, churches, to try and see how the nation could be mobilized to one common platform. Why do we need a national transitional process? It's because we are the distance between Zimbabweans, the gulf between Zimbabweans is too big. The differences are so entrenched, and the levels of hate and hatred is so deep. The wounds are still festering. So the reason why you need what Dr. Mthatha is calling the cooling period, or what others are calling the transitional period, is to allow Zimbabweans to build structures that allow for the nation to find each other, to establish institutions that constitute a state, so that the judges, the courts, the police become independent of political influence, so that the people who are hungry are fed, so that they are able to make decisions not with their stomach, but with their minds, so that the constitution is in place, so that it becomes the basis for public engagement and not political affiliation. It is only when we have built this period that allows for the nation to heal itself and re-establish a proper democratic dispensation, that we can allow people to enter into competitive democracy, that people can vote for whoever they want without coercion and without fear that someone is going to knock on their door and threaten them. We are not there yet. Even if we want to go for an election in 2023, we can get there, but we can go to election in 2028. The nation is not yet prepared for a free and fair election, whoever is going to run this country, because the chasm between Zimbabweans is too big. I'm talking about the NTA, I'm talking about the transitional period. Whatever structure that is going to come, as I agree with Dr. Mthatha, what the structure must be defined by the process of engagement. And that's why we have defined this engagement. These dialogue processes must happen at 3 levels. At the grassroots level, it must be to educate citizens to reclaim their agency and to alert them to the fact that they must be custodians of the change. At the level of organized society, it must be to find how do we build agenda setting and find convergence among opinion leaders. And at the political level, we must be able to say, how do we build consensus? How do we able to coexist within our political differences? At the moment, the kind of political arrangements we have, it's an exclusive imagination of the future. If you are ZANU-PF, you need to find a way of relinquish all forms of opposition. If you are opposition, you are imagining a future where ZANU-PF doesn't exist. But unfortunately, that future doesn't exist because there is no way we are going to have a time when we have no opposition, and there is no way where ZANU-PF is completely going to be eradicated. What we need is a future, the near future we need is a future we will need some kind of coexistence, and that need to be midwifed. That future is not going to come through a winner takes all organized through elections. It needs to be midwifed, and we need a buffer zone to allow true competitive politics